All right, here's that moment of truth. I hope you can't hear my coffee maker, everybody, because it's going. The coffee maker is going, and I'm sorry for that. What's up, everybody? I think we're on the YouTube. Yeah, there's a period where it wakes up and there's a little bit of a lull. And I gotta just wait. All right, we are live. Yes, we are here. We are on the YouTube. We are on the Rockfin. We are on the Periscope. We are live. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon to everybody out east. How's it going? Do you have lunch? Is it going good? Cool. Good morning to everybody in a morning time zone like me and my guest today. We had breakfast. Not together, but I mean, I had breakfast. I'm assuming she did too. Anyway, and good evening to everyone in an evening time zone and to everyone in the future. We really are counting on you to fix climate change. Australia, New Zealand, you have a day on everybody else. You're in the future. Just figure out what we got to do and let the rest of us know. Send an email, send a text. Hey, climate change, we figured it out. You're welcome. And we'll just have a big parade or something, a big energy efficient parade. Shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. Our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. You can get their tea wholesale now because of the pandemic. Fingers crossed for Iran tea, but in the meantime, show them some love. Our friends over at triageoil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. Trendy name makes topical pain oil for your body. I use it myself. Check it out. And of course, our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is a website where you can find all of the content creators, streamers, and articles that you know and love. They update the platform twice daily. I'm on there, and all the other creators you know and love are on there too. To find out more about everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord community, they're dancing with the Discord. Go to independentleft.media. Again, that's independentleft.media. Yours truly did their theme song, and if you want your own theme song, patreon.com/Ron Placone. That's one of the perks that I give for a give what you can level. I don't have tiers on my Patreon. It's just give what you can, and everyone gets all the same stuff. But one of the perks I offer, you get your own theme song if you want it. You just message me, let me know the details. I add you to the list, and I'll pump out a theme song for you. All right, without further ado, my guest today, I'm so excited to chat with her again. We did a political vigilante game show together. You guys know that game show that Graham and I have been developing. She was a guest recently, and she was so funny, and it was really, really fun. She is the host of the Out of the Box podcast, and also shout out to everybody over on the Rockfin. She is a new member of the Rockfin community, and she's also very, very knowledgeable on crypto. So we're going to be going through a lot of that today. Please welcome Rosie Tran. Rosie, what's up?
Hey, good morning. I'm here in my beautiful kitchen.
Lovely.
I don't have a fun background like you.
Yeah, it's just a screen. What are you gonna do? I need to eventually like matte down the screen. Because you can kind of see anyway. But work in progress. Work in progress. I mean, we're in these times. So how are you? How is everything on out west for you? We're both out west.
I'm good. I'm really excited. I'm glad our weather is turning back to sunny Cali weather. So I'm excited to be here.
It's getting warmer. I feel like we are in, we have 3 types of weather: all the time jacket weather, nighttime jacket weather, and hey, you don't need a jacket. And I feel like we're in nighttime jacket. What do you think? You think we're nighttime jacket?
Ron, are you from LA or where are you from?
No, I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally. I was just going to ask you the same question. Where are you from?
So I'm from the South. I'm from New Orleans, but I just want to say that the biggest babies that move to LA are the East Coasters and the Midwest people who come out here in the winter. They're wearing shorts and flip-flops, and they're like, oh, this is so warm. You guys are, babies. This is crazy. And then 2 years in, they're like freezing in the winter time, like shaking like a leaf, like, oh, it's kind of cool. Because what happens is LA is like 70 during the day in wintertime, and then it drops to like 30. And so I don't care if you're from Alaska, a 40-degree drop is cold.
Totally. Oh, yeah. Well, the first time I went to LA, I just straight up didn't realize that. Like I was
so cold.
Yeah. I mean, I was like 22 and I'd never been to LA before. I went for the first time. I stayed in a youth hostel and I just didn't have any warm clothes because I just didn't think I needed it. Yeah. So it's like I'm just shivering after like 5
When
p.m.,
the
I'm
sun
shivering.
sets, it's like an Arctic tundra. And I always tease my East Coast and Midwest friends because they're always the biggest, like, oh, this is great. You guys don't know anything about the cold, 10 inches of snow. And then as soon as nighttime comes, you're like, whoa, what happened?
Well, so the other side of it, though, to be fair here, your body does totally acclimatize
It does.
because I have the problem when I go back home to Pennsylvania, my family will get all pissed off at me when I'm like, I'm shivering. And they're, oh, okay, California. I guess you forgot all about where you came from. And I'm like, it's a thing that happens to your body. I'm not doing this to fuck with you. I'm cold.
No, it's exactly. That's another thing I hear from a lot of East Coasters and Midwesters when it turns, 50 degrees. They're all like, my blood's thinned out. I'm like, yeah, it has. It's cool. It gets cool.
It's real. It's real. I think you and I kind of gushed a little bit about New Orleans on the game show, didn't we?
I don't remember, but I'm really homesick. New Orleans is turning into kind of like the Portland of the South without all the crazy protesting. I'm not against the protesting. I'm just saying the protesting got kind of crazy in Portland.
It got dangerous. Yeah,
it got dangerous. Yeah. So, but New Orleans is kind of turning into like we're like Austin is taking over, but we're kind of always been a hippie, weird town, little hub, liberal hub in the South, and I'm really proud of it, and it's getting even more so. So I'm really excited about that, and I kind of miss it. I'm like, can I do this all remotely and move back home?
Depending on what you're looking to do, probably. I mean, that's the thing. Like the country is spreading out, and I think that applies to showbiz too, to some extent. I mean, I think it's going to be. I mean, it's tough to project, and we won't spend too much time, on this because I'm not an expert in it. Really, I'm just kind of like wading in the water with everyone else, wondering what the hell's going to happen. Yeah. But I wouldn't be shocked if you're super writing centric, especially if you can just live wherever. I mean, I know people who have already done it. They don't plan on going back. I love it here. I don't want to leave, but it is expensive.
I love Los Angeles. I'm just really homesick. My family's there. My dad just passed away in January. So family has definitely been a center for me. And, my dad passing away was like a huge shock to me. I mean, he was 80 and he wasn't in good health, but it still was shocking and very sad.
Well, condolences. I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, that's very hard. But yeah, I got a lot of love for New Orleans. I think there's a lot of filming that happens there too.
There is, unfortunately, though, there's a lot of filming that happens there, but unfortunately, the local talent that they cast is just local. So, and I guess they use them as more like one-liner roles, like smaller roles. So it's harder if you're trying to have like a bigger career to work as a regional. But I mean, I certainly know people who have blown up regionally. I mean, I have a friend that was in an Oscar-nominated movie because he was in New Orleans and he was cast. I mean, he had 2 lines in it, but he can say, I'm in an Oscar-nominated film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, a buddy of mine who's, acting is his main deal, he was telling me a bunch of his friends were moving there, that they were just tired of the LA thing, and they, especially with the pandemic, they moved to New Orleans and they just want to get work there and be, I guess, a bigger fish per se, and they just kind of like the way of life.
It's nice. It's like a big hippie commune with like, I feel bad though, because there's a lot of, the community is like kind of dead right now because of COVID, because it's such a communal city. Like there's always music festivals. There's always kind of like stuff going on. And now, Mardi Gras was like a big COVID hub. and it's just like, it's like the heart of the city is beating very lightly right now. So it is kind of sad.
I don't know. Like, I'm not totally hip to the city. I mean, I've only just been there as for shows or just straight up as a tourist, or a little bit of both. I mean, you try to have a little bit of fun when you're in New Orleans, even if you're there for shows. But I mean, I know enough that I go to Frenchman instead of Bourbon. I know that much. I know that much. I'm kind of so cool.
You're hip.
I go to Frenchman at least, and I also, my cousin went to Tulane.
Okay.
So he's a pretty big, like, he likes to explore places, and he's really big on restaurants and bars and stuff. So he has this 30-page document that he made that's like Greg Placone's Guide to New Orleans. that I've used many times. Like I just go to his guide and he has it broken down, and he has one section just dedicated to beer, one section just dedicated to jambalaya, and it's pretty impressive. So I use his guide for most things, and I have found everything from really cool hangs to day drinking to really stellar vegan restaurants and everything in between. So it's a fantastic guide. But I'd imagine at this point it's become a bit dated because this was back when he was in law school there, which was a while ago.
There's been a lot of change. I know since I left, there's been a lot of new, like really cool places popping up and co-ops and other things since post Katrina. So that's been really cool. A lot of independent coffee shops that have popped up. So it's definitely been changing. There's some complaint that it's becoming, too gentrified, but I don't think so. I mean, I think that it's always going to be New Orleans. You're never going to be able to take that away. It doesn't matter who's living there. And I know a lot of people that are not locals and natives, and they've absorbed the culture and become New Orleanians by absorption. So I don't think you can take it, the spirit of the city out of the city. It's definitely a very soulful city.
Well, I got a lot of love for that city, and I think at this point, like people who watch this show are kind of used to this, and I'm sure some of them embrace it, and some of them are like, "Oh, there he goes again." Because I really do like cities a lot. Like I really do. I celebrate as much as I point out all of the many problems of this country. I really do celebrate so many pockets in it, and I have a lot of love for so many places, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to travel the country for a job for so long. And I just so it's totally like, oh, you're from Detroit, let's gush about that for 20 minutes. New Orleans, I got some thoughts on that. Oh, you're from the Rust Belt. Well, I'm from there too, so we have that in common. Let's go. Like, oh, do you ever get up to such and such? You're from Philly. I got a lot of love for that town. People, I mean, I know we're hockey rivals, but I still love that city. I don't care about that stuff. Boston, my wife's from Massachusetts, so I'm totally, I'm always that guy.
I think comedians and people that travel should be more politicians, because a lot of politicians don't leave where they're from. They don't travel. They say most people don't leave within a 10-mile radius. I think I've been to like at least half the states in the country and talked to so many people from all over the place. I kind of don't like that. I don't like when people are like, well, entertainers should keep their mouths shut about politics. It's like, okay, why? Why, it's like, should truckers keep their mouths shut about politics? Should teachers keep their mouths shut about politics? It's like, politics affects everyone. So I think everyone should have a voice, but especially people that travel so much. It's like, I've talked to so many people from all across the country. I'm probably more knowledgeable about most political issues than like the average politician.
There's a lot of comedians I would not vote for, but I think there's definitely some I would. So let's talk crypto. So let's start basic. I mean, first of all, what got you into crypto? Like is it just you're an enthusiast, or was there something in particular? Like I know you're into it, but I don't know how that started.
Okay, so if you guys hear my dog barking in the background, I apologize.
We are a very pet-friendly show here, like incredibly pet-friendly.
But before I go on, actually stand-up got me into cryptocurrency. So two things. So the first thing is I actually got into investing when I first started stand-up. And one of the reasons is because, I was a green comedian, brand new. And I noticed that a lot of my friends, even friends like Graham and other people like that who had some success in stand-up, as you know, the entertainment industry is very up and down. So I had, I was very naive. I'm from New Orleans. I'm from the South. And I thought, when you get to Hollywood, if you have a half-hour special, you've like made it, you're like a millionaire, right? So we both know that's not true. Right. So I started looking for alternative forms of income to kind of like supplement my stand-up income, because, I wasn't making money the first 5 years I was doing stand-up. And then I was like hosting and featuring. And for those of you who don't know, unless you're like a superstar in stand-up, you're not making that much money.
It's hard to make a living.
It's really, really, really hard. And so comedians really need your support on Patreon. We really need your support on following and subscribing. Because I mean, I would have people come up to me and they're like, you're the funniest person I've ever seen. I'm like, great, follow me. And they're like, oh, I don't follow people. I'm like, oh.
Okay. That was really funny. And I'm never going to think about you again. That was really great. But it's, I mean, that's just the world we live in. So much is coming at people. And I just to like interject something, like I think we're still in the early stages of people realizing that following a comedian is something you can do. Would you agree with that?
I think so too. And I just also don't think people realizes how much it helps the comedians. Like so whenever I go see an indie band, I always buy merch because a lot of people don't know. Sometimes indie bands, they don't even break even doing their shows, and it's hard for people to understand because they'll pay $50 for a ticket or $25 for a ticket, and they assume that money is going towards the artist.
Right.
And so people don't understand when you pay, I've done so many stand-up shows where people are like, I'll be like, hey, buy my merch. And they're like, well, I just paid $100 for dinner and, 2 tickets and blah, 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 whatever. And they don't understand, well, some of that money goes to the wait staff. Some of that money goes to the comedy club. Some of that money, it's doled out. And the percentage that the entertainers actually make is like not that much unless you're producing your own event, right? If you're producing it yourself, then yes, you're collecting all the money. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that how much following a comedian or entertainer or actor or supporter or musician supports them. And so, yes, I do think that. And I think a lot of people also like follow on the sly. Like I've had people like, oh, I like go to your page and check you out, but I like won't follow you yet. Like it's like they're like dating my page or something.
I'm Rosie Tran curious.
Exactly. So yes, Ron, I agree with you. I think a lot of people don't realize that. And even, with music, I don't think a lot of people understand the pay structure of how things work. And so they're assuming that when they put a certain amount of money that you're getting it. And they hear these ridiculous stories of, certain celebrities making 30,000 appearance or 100,000 an appearance. And they assume you're getting a similar deal. And that's just not the case.
Oh yeah, people have no clue how hard
they have no clue.
musicians get screwed. I mean, other musicians know, but I mean, everyone else, they have no. I mean, musicians get screwed so hard. I mean, so do comedians, but musicians, it's just.
I mean,
you have to divvy up the screwing because there's other band members. You're all getting screwed in equal amount, but you have to divvy up the screw. And then when all is said and done, it's like, we cleared 75 sets. How do we split that 5 ways? Shit. Like.
That, but not just that, but a lot of people don't know about the royalties, the music company. I mean, that's changing now, obviously, with decentralized platforms. But I mean, there's like superstars from the 60s and 70s who didn't see a penny from their songs because the rights were owned by the record company.
Mm-hmm. So you started getting into crypto because you realized, all right, the lucrative world of stand-up comedy is not so lucrative.
Exactly. And the second reason is because I had a couple. So Out of the Box podcast, my podcast is about everything like non-mainstream, right? So I had everything from like adult film actresses talking about, sex positive, empowerment to, crypto people to just everyone. My podcast is just non-mainstream thinking. So it's Out of the Box podcast, right? It's everything that like your parents didn't want to talk to you about, right? Like every like weird thing that like no one talks about. And so I had a couple crypto guests on and they really enlightened me. And at that time, it was very, very early in the crypto scene. And I did the absolute worst thing you can do, Ron, is that I started researching it and I thought, I'm not smart enough. I said, I'm not smart enough to figure this out. I don't know anything about cryptography. I'm not a programmer. And I just let it go. And that was a huge mistake because everything about cryptocurrency aligns with my values, but I got kind of scared off by the jargon, if that makes any sense.
Well, let's dive into what you just said. Everything about cryptocurrency aligns with my values. Break that down.
Okay, so part of cryptocurrency, so crypto in general, Bitcoin, let's talk about Bitcoin, which is the main cryptocurrency. Sure. It's a digital form of currency for those of you who don't know what it is. And for people who are concerned or scared about digital currency, we actually already have digital currency. The US dollar, about 10% is printed into cash and the rest is just a number. So when you go into your bank and you have a number in your checking account, it doesn't mean that the bank has that amount of money in their vault, right? It's just a number and they kind of transfer different numbers to each other. The difference between Bitcoin and crypto and the traditional banking system is that cryptocurrency is decentralized, whereas regular fiat currency, USD, is centralized. So there's one central issuing entity, and that's the central bank. And so when I talk about that being aligned with my values, if you research the central bank, it sounds like a crazy stereotype where you see like the evil monopoly guy, but the kind of evil that the U.S. central bank has done to increase inequality and to hurt the average American and make the rich richer and the poor poor will gut you. I mean, it's really sick. And so once I started diving into that the rabbit hole and understanding what crypto was about, so it was invented or created by someone named Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm messing it up, but Naka. I don't know why I'm like so tongue tied. I'll have it. We'll have it in the show notes. Who it was a cypherpunk or programmer or programmers, him or her. We don't know who this person is.
What does that mean exactly?
What does that mean?
Cypherpunk, like what is? I'm not hip to a lot of the
Okay,
lingo.
so
What is?
cypherpunks are people who believe in crypto versus the central bank, and they want this digital crypto revolution to happen, and they
Okay.
support that revolution. And so this him or her cypherpunk created it in response to the 2008-2009 central banking crash and the bailout. And they were like, "This is sick. This is enough. Why are we as taxpayers bailing out these huge central banks that took our savings and our investments, gambled with it, and now we're bailing them out?" And so that was a response. And there's a white paper, I believe, that's published, which is explaining all of this and the creation of Bitcoin. And there was like an original forum and thread. And so it was a response to that. And it was created as a people's money that was controlled and owned by the people and decentralized. So by decentralized, it means instead of the central bank issuing it, we all control it through the network. So the way that Bitcoin works is, and most other cryptocurrencies, is it's mined through an algorithm, and everyone who whenever you mine it, and mining is just a fancy word for running the algorithm, so running the program, the software. And so when your computer does it, after a while, it gets rewarded with a fraction of a Bitcoin. And so that runs the network. So it's kind of like the internet of money. It's like a whole network. So everyone who's running the network runs the Bitcoin network instead of a central bank controlling that currency. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that
it's essentially using the internet as a currency placeholder and creator.
Yes, pretty much. So there's a book called Internet of Money that I really recommend by Andres Antonopoulos. I don't know why all these people have really long blah 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 names, but he's kind of known as like the Bitcoin Jesus. That's his nickname, and he was going around.
Why doesn't he just go by that? Why is he just call me Bitcoin Jesus? That's what they call me at the club.
And he went around evangelizing about it and talking about it. And his book, Internet of Money, really changed my life as well. And it was a very simple, basic explanation of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And so it's basically a democratized form of wealth. And the cypherpunks and the cypherpunk movement wants to democratize wealth. They do not think that the rich should get richer and the poor should get poorer. They think everyone should have a chance to get wealthy and that the banking system needs to be decentralized. And the reason that this is important, unfortunately, in America, even though I believe USD is crap, we have a petrodollar and we also have a very strong dollar. And so the use case is actually very weak for us. But in countries like Venezuela, where the currency has collapsed and people, are having a lot of issues with the government, in Turkey, people really see a strong use case for this decentralized crypto. In addition to that, I think first world problems hashtag. A lot of people are like, "What do you mean banking problem? I bank with Chase or I bank with Wells Fargo. It's fine." People are not understanding that over 1 billion people in the world are unbanked, which means that the big fancy banks have deemed them unbankable because they have low credit or they're poor. And mostly it has to do with poverty. And so there's this huge sector of the world that has no access to banking services, or they have to use Western Union or other predatory payday loan banks that are charging 3 to 5% interest. And so again, taking away and punishing you for being poor. And so when you send Bitcoin or other cryptos, it costs pennies to send instead of this 3 to 5%, sometimes 10% predatory interest. And so that's another pro. So I mean, it's the way money should be. It's basically like uncorrupted money, and it's not the bankers hate it. You know, Jamie Dimon called it a scam and now he's investing it. Goldman Sachs called it a fake asset in 2020 and now they're launching a crypto ETF. So all these like evil bankers were like attacking it really hardcore in the beginning and now they're kind of jumping on board to see if they can make a profit from it. But it's just, that's what I mean by it aligns with my values. It's the people's money. It's a democratized form of money. And I think a lot of people see Bitcoin right now hovering around 55,000 and think, well, I can't afford a Bitcoin. You know, how is that the people's money? You can buy 0.001% of Bitcoin. You can buy $10.
I know someone who bought $5 recently. A friend of mine tweeted or posted it on their Facebook. They were like, I bought $5 just to see what happens.
Yes. And I'm sorry, Ron, I'm like blathering.
No, I mean, no, this is what, I mean, I want to break this down and I'm glad we kind of started very basic because that's kind of what I wanted. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I got to ask you this. Have you ever read the book Debt by Donald Graeber, who was an anarchist academic who unfortunately passed recently? Have you ever read that book?
I haven't, but I'm really into reading about finance and poverty and inequality and learning as much as I can. And I really feel that crypto is the answer to all that. And not just that, but crypto, it seems, like I said, in the beginning, I said, I'm not smart enough to understand this. But once I got into it, I mean, it is a little complex. You do have to know a little bit about our financial system, which most people don't. And learning about it is really scary because you learn about how corrupt it is. Mm-hmm. And then also you have to know a little bit about geopolitics and inequality and things like that. So there is a little bit of being a little bit educated, I think, to understand the basics. But once you get the basics, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, well, the reason I bring up that book is because he writes about, and it doesn't have a direct connection to crypto, but he writes about just the history of money, just the concept of a currency. And one of the things that we were kind of taught in school is that, hey, we got this thing called money because the guy with the barrels of hay didn't know what to do with the guy with the chickens if the chicken guy didn't want the hay. And originally they were just trading and everything was fine. And you find out that, no, that's not what happened. I mean, yes, on a micro scale, bartering happened, sure, and bartering's fine. But there was never a mass world built on bartering. That never actually happened. And currencies were basically introduced to just kind of control a society. And there's been everything from certain types of fish, like certain types of white fish were used as money, to, you know, like literal beans and stuff like that.
Tobacco was used in the US.
So you have, like, when you really look at the history of money and just the idea of debt and the stuff we were taught and how there's this moral obligation, but the obligation only goes one way. The obligation is only on the person who owes the debt. It's never on the other person. And we're really seeing that come full circle now during this pandemic. Oh, you can't pay your rent because of a pandemic? Tough shit. And people are just kind of looking around going like, well, what? I lost everything. I lost everything. Like, what? Through no fault of my own. There's a pandemic. And you read that book and it really, you reassess what exactly money is and and then you realize what we're doing in the US.
This is very boring. I hope your listeners don't turn this off. But have you guys ever discussed our fractional reserve money system?
No, not in depthly, no.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about it really quick because this is how crypto solves that problem. So a lot of people don't understand that we're in a fractional reserve money system. So what happens is that the bank takes your money, Ron, they take your money and they loan it out to make loans and then they profit from it and then they keep the profits or they give it to shareholders. Ron does not see any of that profit. What they do is they give you a free checking account. That's your prize.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's
right.
How Wall Street works. I mean, every dollar that Wall Street takes can be traced back to the public's money.
A person, yes, an individual person's savings or investing, right? And so with these new stable coins that are coming out through crypto, you can be your own bank. So there's different platforms. There's one that I use called Abra, where they take your savings and they loan it out and you get the profits. So you get the profits off of your own money. and not a central banking system. They're basically, crypto is taking out the middleman, which is the bank, and letting you profit from your own money, which sounds revolutionary, but it shouldn't be, right?
Well, we have the technology for it.
We have
And
the
that's
technology
just,
for it.
yeah. So how would you, and I feel like we sort of touched on this, but I want to just like back up a little bit. How exactly would you just define cryptocurrency to somebody who has no clue what it is?
I would just say it's a digital money that is not controlled by a central bank. That's the easiest definition. It's a digital currency that is controlled by the internet, which means everyone. So no one can do something shady. I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but there's a lot of shadiness going on right now with these alleged COVID relief packages.
Really?
Yeah. So
they're not altruistic. They're not. I thought they just couldn't afford to give the people their own freaking money back. I thought next you're going to tell me that it's actually a federal government's job to look out for people during a pandemic. That's one of the reasons we pay taxes. This is getting off the rails, Rosie. I don't know if I can handle this.
I know, I'm very extreme. I'm an extremist. A lot of these stimulus packages and alleged COVID packages are going to large billion-dollar corporations. And so they're going in the name of the people, in the name of COVID relief, and they're printing and printing and printing. And who is going to have to pay back all that debt? It's us. And so it's a huge transfer of wealth. And that is something that you cannot do with cryptocurrency. You cannot all of a sudden change the rules of crypto. The algorithm is in place. And there are, I believe, a couple cryptos where you can change the algorithm. There's, I think, Ether you can, and Tezos, there's a smart contract, but you need what's called consensus. So everyone who owns that coin can kind of vote on where it goes. So it's like a democracy, basically.
How would something like that work? I mean, now this is where it's like, it's above my understanding right now. I mean, I'm learning as I go. I have some crypto. I still will not do any transaction alone. I have to have my wife with me, and she holds my hand, and then we burn a picture that has a saint on it, and then we do but seriously though, I don't like to do it alone. I like to just have someone else to just make sure everything looks right. Like my wife and I will do the transactions together. We'll look at the numbers together, and then we'll transact. But yeah, so
you're a good hubby, Ron.
Well, no, it's more. I mean, it's more. She's a good wife because she's. I mean, I started getting crypto because of Rockfin. That was my introduction. Before then, I mean, I had a basic understanding of what it was, but that was about it. I mean, I knew it was just this decentralized electronic currency, and that was about all I knew. And then because of Rockfin, I started learning more about it and understanding how it works a little bit. And I'm still learning. But if an algorithm were to change, how would that happen? Like what would be the sequence of events there?
So that's actually already happened. Bitcoin has had what's called a fork. So Bitcoin split. The programmers that were working on Bitcoin came to a disagreement the way things should be. And so they forked. And so it split into two coins, Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So I don't know if you've heard of Bitcoin Cash.
So I have heard of it, but because I've seen these different, like there's Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. There's Bitcoin
Yes,
Cash,
that was a fork where they split.
So
they split.
Is that what that means? That means the algorithm switched up and now you have this different currency.
So because cryptocurrency and all cryptos are decentralized, so there's not one person. So what happens in the central bank is the head of the central bank, Jerome Powell, says, hey, I'm going to sit down with Congress or whatever, and we're going to decide on the stimulus package, and then we're going to print. So there's a very high concentration of power. With cryptocurrency, the network is the power, right? So what happened was the people who were programming and working on the Ethereum network decided in that situation that they were going to split. And so I believe the split was over proof of stake versus proof of work. And what that means is, so proof of stake is you get rewarded for running the algorithm. Proof of stake, you get rewarded with an Ethereum, or a portion of an Ethereum for running the network if you stake the coin. So that means you're just holding them. You don't sell them, you don't trade them, you don't do anything, you just hold them. And proof of work means that you're doing programming, you're doing something, you're expanding the network, right? And so those two factions of Ether split off, and so they decided to do a fork. And a lot of times you can vote. So there's a smart contract aspect of it, not Bitcoin, depending on what coin, where the network, anyone who holds the coin can vote on where they want it to go. So that can create a split.
Okay. All right. And then it just becomes its own set. It's just another genre, basically. Genre is probably a poor choice of words, but I think you know what I mean.
So technically,
everything comes back to music with me. Rosie, have you invested in the post-hardcore of crypto? That's my favorite one. Remember the crypto emo wave? That was weird.
So technically it could split off 1,000 times. I mean, it hasn't. I think there's like a general consensus that people in the Bitcoin community want to keep Bitcoin as Bitcoin and keep the original vision of Satoshi. But that's the great thing, is that the network can always vote to change things. So it's not a stagnant thing like the US dollar. That's why I'm saying it's the money of the people, because the people can decide what they want to do with it if you hold that coin.
So how does it, like, give just kind of a basic explanation? How does it increase and decrease? Like, how, generally speaking, does that happen? Is it similar to just the way it happens in the stock market, more people buying and selling, or is there more to it than that? Like what's just the basic, this is what causes it to go up, this is what causes it to go down? I mean, I know it can be something as small as Elon Musk complaining publicly, but like what's kind of the basics of how that happens?
Okay, so before we continue, I just want to give a full disclaimer that Ron and I are entertainers, and this podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and this is not
totally
financial advice.
Yes, totally. Yeah. That I should have. Yeah, I know. Graham does stuff. Yeah, this is totally just for fun and talking. We are not financial advisors.
We are not licensed financial advisors, and
we are comedians. Our life choices alone disqualify us from ever being financial advisors at all on anything.
So I wanted to fully disclaim that before I go into it. Every coin, there's hundreds of cryptocurrencies, has their own white paper, has their own description. I'm just going to cover Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a set supply, which is 21 million coins. And so it's rare, and not all the coins have been mined. I believe there's, a certain 10 million coins left or something. And every 4 years, in the original algorithm, there is something programmed in called the halving. So the halving makes the reward for mining Bitcoin more rare. So I had predicted in March of this last year that crypto was going to go up, Bitcoin was going to go up, and like crazy, because a halving occurred in March, I believe, February or March. And so that made the mining twice as difficult. And so this is going to occur every 4 years until all Bitcoin is mined. So I'm predicting that prior to each halving, that the coin is going to go up quite a bit, because because more people are finding out about it, and it's going to become more difficult to mine after that. And mining, again, is just simply running that network and then getting that Bitcoin as a reward for running the financial network.
So, and because they've set a finite supply.
Yes.
Now, will they eventually expand that finite supply? Because, I mean, with a finite supply, eventually it would just sort of end. Eventually, right? I mean...
No, because it's divisible. So you can buy 0.001 of a Bitcoin. And that's why people have all these crazy predictions, like Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million a coin, because there is that fixed supply. I do not see the supply increasing, even though the programmers can come to consensus and split off and things like that, because that was Satoshi's vision. That is the issue with just the central bank, is that the central bank has an inflationary target of 3 to 5%, which is actually not realistic. Inflation is actually at 10+%. You could buy a house in California in the 50s for $50,000, and now a house in California is like $700,000. So it's again, it's the way that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's a creator of inequality, and it's one of the reasons that Bitcoin was created, because he was against that inflationary. He, she, or they was against that inflationary policy of the Fed, which causes a lot of financial problems for people.
So, will there ever be a day potentially, like right now, it's the value of Bitcoin is in relation to US dollars. Um, is there potentially going to be a day where that's not the case, where it's just totally its own thing, or will it always need that to be in relation to cash?
I really don't know, Ron, but I think that it will be, the more and more people adopt it, the more and more internationally it's adopted, I think it will just be considered Bitcoin. It'll be, um, I think that they're trying to get the Satoshi as the minimum kind of dollar amount or the minimum unit amount, which I'm blanking. I can't remember if it's 100 Satoshis or 100 million, a million Satoshis equals one Bitcoin or whatever. But that Satoshi is a smaller unit, and so it's more divisible and easier to like understand contextually. I don't see Bitcoin as a currency. I see it as an investment, a store of value. So a place to put my money and kind of have it grow. That's like an alternative to just having it in my checking account. I don't trust the bankers, Ron. They've done so. I'm sorry if I'm, a little bit hardened, but after 2008, 2009, and to see what they're continually doing, to see the fact that they're in bed right now with the US government to transfer this huge amount of taxpayer money to large corporations, I don't trust them.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's totally a fine sentiment on this show. I can't speak for every show, but yeah, on this show, not being okay with the banks is totally cool. And well, let's get into you sent this to me over Twitter. One of the critiques that you hear of crypto, and there are some, and I'm sure some are more valid than others. And well, let's get into this next, but let's get into this specifically first. One of the big critiques of crypto is that the energy that it takes for these transactions is very bad for the environment, basically. And I don't understand all the nooks and crannies of that, but I guess it has to do with the actual like bandwidth of the algorithm. Is that where the critique comes from?
So the critique comes from the fact that in order to get Bitcoin, you have to mine it. And in order to mine it, you have to run the algorithm. And in order to run the algorithm, you need to be running software on a computer. So basically, the criticism is that it's very, you're using a lot of energy and it's very bad for the environment. And first off, I want to say that that is a very valid criticism.
Hmm.
However, the article that I sent you was about the petrodollar. And
Hmm.
I want to let people know that the currency system that we're currently using that's pegged to petroleum is actually much dirtier than crypto. So crypto and Bitcoin is actually a cleaner form of money than the dirty US fiat petrodollar. I mean, it's called the petrodollar.
Right. And
um,
that's, I'm looking at the article you sent me now. They basically have a graph that lays out, well, this is what happens when we exchange. Well, exchange is a very gentle way to put what we actually do. But when we buy oil from Saudi Arabia, when Saudi Arabia then pays our corporation for quote services, and of course, folks, let's not forget all of this also leads to the endless war economy that we have here in the United States. So there's a lot of associated factors here, all of which are morally destructive and are ruining the world.
Exactly. And so when people say that, again, it is a valid criticism, but it's like saying, well, solar panels are bad for the environment because you have to mine the metals to make the solar panels. That is a valid argument. However, would you rather have solar panels or be using, dirty oil money that's fueling the military industrial complex? So it's definitely a huge lesser of the two evils, to the point where it's not even a comparison. And second of all, cryptocurrency is brand new. Bitcoin was founded in 2009. As more people mine it, as computers become more efficient and technology evolves, it's going to become cleaner, and it's running on electricity. So you can use solar panels, you can do other things to offset some of the negative effects. But to say that we should not switch to a crypto decentralized financial system because it's bad for the environment, it sounds kind of like, people funding studies that Gatorade is good for you over water, funded by the Gatorade industry.
Right. Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's what I kept coming back to, because it's like, yeah, I feel like there's something here with this currency, but are you advocating to just continue what we're doing now? I mean, look at what we should have never. Our system should have never happened. It should have never happened. You look at, and when I say our system, I mean an economy of war. I mean Wall Street. I mean the big banks. None of this should have ever happened. So, I mean, I don't know everything about crypto. I'm still learning about it, but I'm certainly open to it, because man, look at what we freaking have now. That should have
And
never. Philosophers
not
warned about this shit for centuries, literally
it's not
centuries.
that dirty, Ron. I mean, yes, does it use electricity to mine? Yes. I'm not going to say it doesn't, because that's
Sure.
how you get Bitcoin. But, it's like someone who eats, 3 steaks a day criticizing a vegetarian and saying, well, that lifestyle is unhealthy. And it's like, okay. So I really, is it 100% a clean currency? No, it's not. Is it a step to a clean currency? Absolutely. It's just crazy. It's like saying, you shouldn't drive a Prius because it's still a car. We're not going to go completely green right away. And to see how dirty the petrodollar is, it's really despicable. To anyone who says that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is a dirty form of currency really doesn't know anything about USD.
I mean, it's literally dirty. It
It's
is. I mean,
literally dirty with blood money.
when you touch a dollar bill, it is one of the dirtiest things you will ever touch.
And I just want to
literally and figuratively.
it's true. I just want to give a metaphor, because one of the criticisms as well that Janet Yellen, the head of the Treasury, and of course former Fed chairman, is saying is that Bitcoin is used by criminals, and no comment about the
And
money
money
laundering.
isn't.
Yeah, exactly. That cash has been used.
Criminals never use money. They just barter.
They barter with hay.
They trade, yeah, hay and chickens. That's all criminals use. So
Exactly. So I'm not going to sit here and say Bitcoin and crypto is 100% clean. There is electricity involved in the mining process. Is it a dirty currency? I would not call it a dirty currency. I wouldn't. It's a step to clean currency. It's not perfect, but it's a step there.
Well, one of the things that let me run this by you, and you might think this is, not, this is a poor analysis, and that's totally fine, because it might be. Again, I'm very much a novice, and I'm not at your level with this stuff or anywhere close to it. But the way I kind of see it, big picture, this is sort of like our generation's gold rush in a way, where you have this new thing that people are trying to make sense of, that people are trying to get their taste of, and you have some people who are looking to do some really great things with it. You have other people who, maybe don't have the most honest of intentions. And when I see, I've been trying to read more and more articles, and you see stuff from both sides. The side of, hey, cryptocurrency is BS and it's going to be dead within a year and blah, blah, blah. And then you see it from the other side where it's like, no, this is the future. And you kind of wonder where the honest actors are. And it's really tough to decipher, because there's some really powerful people that want to see this succeed. There's also some really powerful people that want to see it fail. Is that is there some basis to that? Is there some relevance to what I'm saying?
There are, and I will tell you this: when Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, says it's a scam, it's going to zero, that made me want to invest in it even more, because a lot of the people that are saying it's a scam are people that are benefiting from the old school system. They are benefiting from the status quo system. They are going to lose money, because if it becomes democratized, if DeFi, which is decentralized finance, which is the idea that the people deserve to own the currency, they deserve to make money off of their own currency, they're going to lose money. And so they don't want people to learn about cryptocurrency. And there's only one side that is a downside right now, in my opinion, to cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and that is my concern about the pro central bank legislation that's in right now. Jerome Powell, his net worth is like $30 million or something like that, which is kind of scary. He's supposed to be an alleged, government official, even though the central bank is a private bank that enslaves the U.S. people. The Treasury Secretary is Janet Yellen, a former chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. And they had actually the head of the comptroller's office, I believe, ironically put in place by Trump, was a pro-crypto person. He was a former executive at Coinbase, and they're trying to shut him down. So I'm really scared. A lot of people are like, go Biden. And Biden was a representative from Delaware, one of the most corporate friendly states in the country. He had voted on a lot of corporate friendly bills in the past. I don't know how you feel about Biden, but
I'm not a fan.
I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about this pro-business, pro-corporate agenda and pro-banking agenda of the U.S. government. So
yeah, when have we ever not seen that too? I mean, that's we've never not seen that in either of our lifetimes.
Not in my lifetime. So I'm just really concerned that they are going to try to pass some type of shady regulation to punish people for crypto. They did that. There's a documentary on Netflix on Bitcoin. I'll have to send it over to you. One of the original exchange owners in New York, they put him in jail. I think he's still in jail. And they jailed him and said he was doing money laundering, and he wasn't. And so early on when Bitcoin came out, there was a couple big players in Bitcoin that were jailed and punished. And it was completely out of alignment of what their crime was and what that crime is normally sentenced to. And I think that that was backed by banking interest.
Yeah, it's something.
Am I being too depressing?
No, it's just, it's just, it's just a heavy topic. I mean, it really is, because, you're looking, I hate to keep coming back to this analogy, but this is just the best way I see it. I mean, in so many ways, this is the Wild West. And I'm kind of wondering how it's all going to unfold when all's said and done. Do you think it's going to reach what's there's those people, they have the laser eyes, and that means you think that you think Bitcoin's going to reach 100K by the end of the year. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Yes, that's what the laser eyes means. I have my laser eyes, and then as a joke, I put laser boobs. So I have my boobs.
So you think it's going to hit that?
I do. I think there's people that are saying 250,000, a million. I think that's a little bit delusional. Although, no one thought it was going to reach 60,000, and it did. So I do. And one of the reasons I do is because, the past 9.5 years has been a lot of people like me getting into Bitcoin and crypto because it was such a fringe thing. It was such an out of the box thing. It was anarchists, socialists, libertarians, people that are not mainstream looking into stuff like this. And unfortunately, a lot of Wall Street people are now seeing the huge returns and saying, hey, maybe I can make money in this. So a lot of Wall Street money is coming in right now. And I think that's what created that big bull market in the last half of 2020, was a lot of Wall Street people being like, hey, what's going on here? And so I don't think they believe in the decentralized revolution. I think that they just want to make money, which is fine.
Of course. Well, but, is it fine though? Because Wall Street, everything they do, it's how can we fix these rules so that we win and everyone else loses?
Well, this is why I'm okay with it. And I do say it's fine. I think it's fine because I think that the more big money that gets into it, the government's not going to be able to touch it because their buddies are going to be invested into it. And so even though I don't agree with that, because I think Bitcoin and crypto does help the little guy more than it does help the big banks and big corporations, I'm okay with that.
I don't know. I
know it's tough.
It's tough because I think once the predators get their hands on it, they're going to try to change the rules. That's how it's happened throughout history all the time. Like that's how it's always happened. Like somebody would just sort of, and that kind of gets back to that book that I referenced that I highly recommend, Debt by David Graeber.
I will check it out.
He just broke down how it's like you have eventually a currency gets manipulated. Eventually it's like we're taught all these misconceptions of what money is really for, why it exists. I wish we lived in a society where it just didn't exist at all. I understand I'm not going to see that in my lifetime, but I wish. But, eventually it just gets manipulated. And then you have a couple winners and a whole lot of losers. That's what we have now. That's what we have
Yes.
now. So it's like, you kind of worry when you see these, the Goldman Sachs and the Wall Street players of the world getting into this. You're like, oh boy, oh
Here we
geez,
go.
here we go, here we go. What are they gonna? Yeah. What are they gonna do? They're gonna ruin this.
That's why I really want to encourage people to learn about crypto. Get in. I don't want them controlling 50% of the Bitcoin market. I want the little guy to get in there. And so I still believe in it. They haven't corrupted it yet. And the decentralized nature of it helps to control that manipulation, that corruption. But I don't know how much for longer. But, this is what happened with the GameStop. I don't know if you're familiar with the GameStop
Oh yeah, that was.
situation. So but it was manipulated by the government. The government stopped trading. They didn't like the little guy making a buck, and there was a lot of corruption as far as that was concerned. So I still think the little guy can get in, but I think that we, the people, we outnumber the shady one percenters, right? We outnumber those manipulators. So if we can get in, then we will have consensus in the crypto market. So that's why I really encourage people. It's like, keep it decentralized. Do not let one person control all of it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's you know, what's the old famous Jim Morrison quote? They got the guns, but we got the numbers. I mean,
We got the
that's
numbers.
that's the truth. It's like we do have the numbers. They just have all the power, and especially now when they, are able to just completely dictate the currency as they do now, and as they have,
Correct.
for it's an interesting topic. It's a topic that I'm still learning about and still kind of, I guess, evolving with. I mean, I just kind of roll with it and try to make decisions, and it's something. Well, in closing, what are some other kind of just bullet points that maybe we didn't get to that you think people ought to know? And again, this is entertainment purposes only, folks. We're not giving you investment advice. We're just talking about a topic.
So I would strongly encourage everyone out there to get the Internet of Money by Bitcoin Jesus. I'm just going to say Bitcoin Jesus because I keep flubbing everyone's name today. It's a very simple read. It's a quick read, and I believe there's talks on it on YouTube for free. So if you don't, if you're not a reader, I'm not a reader. I usually listen to ebooks because I get like ADD when I read.
Sometimes I just don't enjoy the narrators, and that ruins it for me. I've when it's a good ebook person, it's awesome. But when it's a not so great one, where it's like, oh, every character has the same voice, huh? Interesting. It's like, because I used to do a lot of ebooks when I was on the road full time, getting it back to travel and my love of cities. I would listen to a lot of ebooks in the car, and it's, the good are really good, but the bad, it just takes you out of it real quick.
So I would get Internet of Money, and then do what I did.
Write
If
that
you
down.
feel like you're not smart enough, if you're like, okay, cryptography, what, huh? My head's spinning. Go on YouTube or wherever you watch your videos, Vimeo, whatever streaming platform, and look up crypto for kids, Bitcoin for kids. They have all sorts of Bitcoin videos for kids, crypto for kids. I believe there's like a Vox video that breaks it down for little kids. And I'm telling you, it's not that complicated. Don't go online and try to like go on Twitter. There's a lot of like crypto heads that like use crazy jargon, and your head will be spinning even more, and you'll just be like, I don't get it. I'm telling you, it's not that difficult. And once you get the main concept it took me a while. I learned about Bitcoin in 2009 when it happened, and I didn't start investing until 2013, I believe. Like the whole time I was researching it, I kept getting interested in it and being like, I want to learn about this. I want to learn about this. And I kept reading a lot of technical jargon and feeling really dumb. I'm like, why do I not understand this? And it was because I was looking at the wrong stuff. Seriously, go and look at the crypto for kids videos, and you'll be like, oh, that's it? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's interesting, like you're talking about, because there is such a big subculture around this now. There is, and I'll go into clubhouse rooms where, you know, they'll be talking crypto, and I'm just kind of a novice, just looking to learn a little bit, and it'll just a
It
lot
sounds
of it
like
just
Latin, right?
yeah, I mean, it just goes way over my head, which I also literally do because I also use Clubhouse to try to get better at Italian. So sometimes I'll just so it's almost like I'm trying to understand languages often in these rooms and stuff. I mean, people have contacted me because I think sometimes people think I know more about crypto than I actually do just because I'm on Rockfin and I have a little bit of it. And I'm a nerdy white guy with glasses, maybe. I mean, I don't know, but they think I know more about crypto than I do. Even though
They're
I've
like, he
said
looks like a crypto programmer.
right, like they're like he probably, and like in reality, no, I am not good with tech at all. My editor Joe can attest to that, and like I'm not good with tech at all, and I'm very much a novice, and don't try to say I'm anything but, and they'll be like, well, would you like to debate this current? It's a coin I've never even heard of. And I was like, I don't know what you want me to debate about this because I've never heard of, like, I don't even know what this is. I don't even know. It won't get heated unless you want it to. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I don't even know what it is. So I can't really talk on it, man.
I just want to give one more. So I talked a lot about values and social justice and inequality. And if you guys want to know that aspect of Bitcoin and crypto, I'm going to plug myself, but I have an episode of Out of the Box podcast with Isaiah, who is the author of a book called Bitcoin and Black America. And he breaks down the inequality aspect of it, the social justice aspect of it, and why it is basically morally superior currency to USD and fiat. I mean, not just the blood money and the war money, but other reasons as well.
Mm-hmm. So where can people go to follow everything you got going on? I know you're a new arrival on Rockfin. Let everyone know where to find you on the Rockfin.
I am. I'm
Yeah.
rockfin.com/Rosie Tran. I only have 3 videos, but I'm adding more. But follow me and you'll have all of the podcasts and other projects that are happening. I'm going to be launching a crypto podcast called Crypto Kitty 2.0 very soon. I had another podcast called Crypto Kitty, Hello Crypto Kitty, with my friend Esther Koo, but that kind of went south. So not because we got into a fight or anything. We're still friends, but just it died.
Podcasts will do that. They just run their course, and
It ran its course.
You just let the podcast go.
It ran its course, but I still wanted to do it. So I spoke to her and she said, go ahead and do it without me. So I'm doing Crypto Kitties 2.0, and it's going to be more explanation and educational instead of infotainment and news, which is what we were doing before. So I will be explaining everything in layman's terms.
I look forward to that. I will be a listener. I will be tuning in. I will submit questions.
That's what I want. So yeah.
I'll be like, Rosie, how is the hip hop cryptocurrency doing? Should I invest in that subgenre? Please help.
Okay, I know you're joking, but there is actually hip hop cryptocurrency. I believe.
Is there really?
I believe there was a coin. I believe. Do not quote me on this, listeners. Like a 50 cent like had a crypto coin, but it was like a scam coin, or like it turned out to be a scam or something.
Oh man, yeah. All right, yeah. That's
so do not invest in any hip hop cryptocurrency. But I believe there was like a cryptocurrency that I don't know if I'm being racist, and it was another rapper that just looks like 50 Cent. I want to Google it right now while I talk to you.
All right. I mean, I was just going on that music genre riff we had going earlier. That's all I was doing. But let me know who the rapper was.
Okay, no, there's this other I don't know. I can't find it, but there was a rapper who was endorsing like a very weird crypto that no one had heard of, and it turned out to be, he was paid for it. He was a paid endorsement, and he didn't know, and it turned out to be it was a scam coin. It was a scam. So I am not giving financial advice. However, I would advise anyone that's interested in investing in crypto or Bitcoin, don't buy like weird coin just because it's like 1 penny and be like, oh, if it goes to $10, I'll be a millionaire. That's not smart. So I would aim for the top 10 coins on CoinMarketCap. Those are all usually legitimate projects that are being engineered and programmed by they're usually engineered or programmed by nonprofit groups. So the Bitcoin, I think it's like bitcoin.org or something, the Bitcoin community of programmers, and everything's transparent. So usually they have everything posted on their forums and they're explaining what they're doing, and everything's very clear and transparent. So if there's any currency that wants you to like recruit other people, like BitConnect was a scam.
Oh, so there's like Ponzi schemes going on in this too?
Unfortunately, Ron, there's always shady
I'm sure,
players.
of course, yeah, there totally are, and that's why, I mean, anyway, sorry, continue.
So there's always shady players. There's always unscrupulous people trying to take advantage of innocent people. And so if you go on CoinMarketCap, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. So I advise anyone that is interested in crypto to do research, see if there's a community around it, see if there's actual programmers. All the stuff should be transparent online. Go on the organization's website, see if there's like community talk. Do not just put $100,000 in like a random coin, #randomcoin, and say, well, this is my life savings, but I'm taking a big bet on this one. No. But the top 5 or 10 coins on CoinMarketCap usually have a legitimate presence about them. So.
Right on. Well, everybody, check out what Rosie's got going on. Follow her at Funny Rosie and follow her on the Rockfin. She is a new arrival to Rockfin. Welcome. And follow her there. And there is an island of misfit podcasts where I think your old podcast and my old podcast are friends. I had the Crypto Kitty, the OG Crypto Kitty, and 5 Chords in the Truth, my music and politics podcast. They're friends and they're hanging out. And they're like, will Ron and Rosie ever come back for us? And no, we're not gonna ever come back for you, but you have a new home now, and know that you're in our hearts.
Ron, thank you for having me on the podcast. Thank you for ranting about cities and music and crypto. I hope that your listeners did not feel I was too depressing.
No, not
we
talk about
global corruption in the currency market. It's not a fun topic.
Well, the show's called Get Your News On with Ron. The word news is in there. So we talk about depressing shit on the daily. So no need to worry about that. I'll go through. First of all, let me give one quick shout out here before we sign off. Adis, thank you so much for the tip over on the Rockfin. Ron made me laugh. Had to tip the dude for that alone. Thank you so much, Adis. Shout out to Modern Retro Radio. That's a wonderful online radio network. And I'll be doing another special with them in May. So shout out to them, Modern Retro Radio. Check it out. And thank you for that tip, Adis. Everybody, we will be back on Monday. And in the meantime, check out Rosie, Funny Rosie, and over on the Rockfin and everything else. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.